Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the podcast mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast.
Welcome back to another exciting episode of Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm, of course, your host with the most, Phil Better, and today we have a powerful guest who is dynamic as they are insightful. Our guest today is a successful leadership coach, corporate trainer, and the CEO and founder of Tracy's.
I hope Tricrest. Nearly fell.
Close.
Everybody gets it wrong.
With an infectious energy and a no-nonsense approach straight from the heart of Manchester, she is known for her ability to build kick-ass cultures and businesses. As a mom of three, she's never stood still, and her journey is a testament to resiliency and a restless drive. Her expertise extends far beyond leadership coaching. She has created an online program that trains other business coaches and consultants in the methodology she has created, which is deeply rooted in NLP, a field which she has been trained and personally endorsed by Dr. Richard Bandler, the co-creator of NLP. Her style is direct, to the point, and always delivers a relaxed, accessible way. Our guest favors topics includes culture, leadership, change, resilience, business, and of course, NLP. She's been a key speaker at major conferences like the Law Ambition Conference in London, the Federation of Master Builders in Glasgow, and the Wild Heart in Action Global Conference. She's also the author of How to Outshine the Rest, a must-read for anybody looking to elevate their professional game. Today, she's going to share her insights on leadership, building a resilient culture, and how to leverage NLP in business. If you're looking to transform your business or simply gain new perspectives on leadership, this episode is packed with the actionable advice and inspiration. So please, without further ado, welcome our amazing guest, Rebecca Bonnington. Rebecca, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Phil. It's a pleasure.
I should have asked how to pronounce the name of the business before we came on stage. I apologize for that.
Everybody gets it wrong. It's okay.
I'm glad to hear that. But now that we got this fun little shindig started, I would love to know what made you decide to venture off the regular 9-to-5 path and join us here in the entrepreneurial world.
It was an accident. And I was working in the corporate world. I was 27. I'd done really well. I was in recruitment, so I was working for a big global recruitment company. This was a long time ago, Phil. This is back in 1997. It was a while ago. No, 98. I know. And I'd hit this huge target. I'd smashed it out the park, and they gave me a really rubbish pay rise. I mean, it was insulting. I was really angry. To put it into perspective, I'd earned them £1,000 a day for a year, and they gave me £1,000 increase. I was not a happy bunny. And I just thought, really? Do I really want to work for people who don't value what I do? And I spoke to a friend of mine, a recruited accountant. He was a partner in an accountancy firm. And he said, why don't you set up your own business? And I said, I can't do that. I was married. I had a 2-year-old child. I was the main wage earner. I had a mortgage. The job gave me a company car, share options, pension. I was earning really good money at a very young age. And I slept on it. And I thought, you know what? Why the heck not? Why can't I do it? And I went, right, I'm going to start my own business. And I did.
How terrified were you going from pretty much relative security with the company? You know, you knew how to do the job. You're guaranteed at least a $1,000 increase, which it's insulting if you're bringing in $1,000 a day.
Yeah.
How terrified were you?
Do you know I wasn't? Which may sound silly, but the organization I worked for at the time had a very low basic salary. So you had to make a lot of job placements to earn good money. So I was used to earning my own money from a really young age. And it just didn't worry me because I knew how to do the job. I had a very good reputation in the marketplace. The biggest stumbling block I had was the restrictive covenant, but there are ways around that. And I had 3 months worth of money, and I thought, if I can go 3 months and then make a placement within that time, I'm home and dry. At the time, the banks were really good, and they gave me a £10,000 overdraft. It was really easy to get that then. It's virtually impossible now. Yeah, I know, those were the days. Hey,
The heydays of entrepreneurship and money.
I know. I literally went to the bank manager with my little cash flow and a plan, and we had a meeting face to face. This is how old it was, in his office. By the way, that bank is now a pub.
Maybe the overdrafts weren't the best idea.
I don't know. The bank's still going. And I said, I need £10,000 for cash flow. And he went, yeah, all right then. No personal guarantees, no DNA. I didn't have to sell a kidney, nothing. And then that's how I got started. And sure enough, within 3 months, I made my first placement, and we were off and away.
Now, since you've been doing this for a relatively while, I'm not going to say a long time, because it's all relative.
Yeah.
When did you come to a point where you needed to hire someone to help you out in the business?
Yeah. So we're in the UK, so we have VAT, value added tax. I think you call it sales tax in Canada, do you? Yeah. Okay. In the US. So I had to do my first tax return. Okay. And it was doing that. I went, I'm never doing one of these ever again. And I hired a bookkeeper. And I haven't done one since. I just thought that was the biggest lesson, is like, Rebecca, just do what you're good at. Just make placements, because you're really, really good at that. And then we grew the team from there, because we got so much work. And again, this was the days before the internet. We had a Yellow Pages, and we started at A. I want to say we, it was me and a business partner. We went in together. I think she had £5,000 she put in as well. She started at A, I started at M, and we just phoned everybody in the Yellow Pages until we got enough work to start recruiting other people.
Wow. Old school style. It's still the best way of doing it. It's just grinding out until stuff starts popping.
Yeah. Totally. It still is. Even if you're online, you have to keep going, keep turning up, keep the conversation going, meet people in the space you've created, whatever that space is, interact, talk, show up as yourself. The principles of human interaction and sales have not changed one iota. It's just the mediums that are different.
I love that. Old school is still new school. No matter what. When did NLP start coming into your life? Because NLP is a very somewhat touchy subject, depending on where you are on the internet, because some people see it as manipulative and the dark side of stuff, and other people see how beneficial it is because it helps you rewire the way you think. So when did NLP enter your world?
Okay, so first of all, if anybody can see, I have Chewbacca in the background. So I definitely use it for good. I'm a Star Wars fan. I saw the original one in 76, 77. Anyway, it as Bandler says, it isn't manipulative for good. So you move people from an unresourceful to a resourceful state. You leave them in a better place in which you found them. And if that's manipulative, so be it. You only do it with their permission. You have to earn the right, and you do it with respect. And nobody can change anything they don't want to change. You simply present a set of options to people that they either pick up or don't pick up. You can't force it on people. Those are all massive misconceptions. And it's simply a way of unlocking your potential and mapping the way you think and behave so that you can improve it. It's like a code. You know, the way Bandler teaches at master prac level, when he writes out the behaviors, it looks like an algebraic code. And then when you realize that you can codify human behavior, you realize you can change bits for the better and be in charge of your own head, which is hugely powerful.
I love that, and it's true. It's because I've seen both sides. Some people trying to use it in a manipulative way, which is not the best way. But
No,
I prefer when we're doing it for good and
for good.
self-improvement.
Yeah.
Like you said, changing the code, changing
Yeah.
your not your DNA, but the code that runs the DNA can help as well.
Yeah. I didn't
When you,
answer your question though, Phil. Sorry.
it's quite all right.
When I first got into it, because when I was running my recruitment business, I was looking for leadership development and I couldn't find anything good or that I thought was good. And somebody recommended NLP to me, and I read the guy's website that was doing the training. It wasn't Bandler at the time, it was somebody else. And I read the website and I thought, oh, this sounds like the biggest pile of BS I've ever come across in my entire life. What a load of rubbish. And the guy that recommended it said, no, promise, it's going to be really good. And I went, and it was a life-changing, completely life-changing. So that's how I got into it.
I like that. And since then, you've developed more and helped yourself become better and help your clients. What is probably the biggest thing you see when you're trying to help people land their job or increase their skills? What is one of the sticking points that they have the most problem getting over?
They're stuck in their own heads. So the biggest issue I see is people going over and over and over in their own heads all the reasons why they can't do stuff. And they will tell themselves that they're not good enough, that they're too tall, they're too short, they're too fat, they're too thin, they're too black, they're too white, they're too small, they're too, you name it. People will come up with whatever it is, and it's in their own heads. And it may have come from people in their past. It may have been told to them. They may have had awful experiences that perhaps have not helped. We're only born with two fears, Phil: the fear of being dropped and the fear of loud noises. Everything else is as a result of what goes on in our own heads. And the minute you can help somebody understand that they can change the way they feel about something that has happened to them, or change a belief that has been holding them back, even a small thing, they go, oh, I'm in charge of this thing. And the minute people realize that, they're so liberated and so free to just choose their own path. And it's amazing to see. And that's the biggest issue. Business leaders, it doesn't matter what sphere in house. I've met some incredibly successful people who think they're rubbish. And it really is, once you get out of the way of yourself, the magic happens.
It's true. Once you stop putting those barriers up or kicking down those barriers, that's when you start seeing the forest instead of just the tree.
Yeah. Am I allowed to swear, Phil?
Yes, you
Okay.
can. The C word is the only one we
Oh, okay.
disallow.
No, I know. North America has a problem with that. The UK,
Yes.
no problem whatsoever.
UK, Aussies, they drop it like it's hot.
Yeah.
Over in North America, we're still, we had the Puritans come over, so we still have a bit
I
of that
know.
Puritan mentality. I'm fine with it, but I know my audience is
No,
some of the devices. So.
I totally get that. I totally get that. No, that's fine. That's so funny. It's really cute as well. We use it as a term of endearment in Glasgow. I don't live in Glasgow. Glasgow and Manchester use it as a term of endearment. That's fine. Anyway, Bandler has this thing when he works with people, and I've got a couple of videos with him on my YouTube channel, the TriCrest YouTube channel. He says, now repeat after me in your head when that little voice comes in that tells you can't do something. He goes, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up.
I've learned that without learning it from Bandler.
Yeah.
But yeah, I call that voice the Hyde voice. It's Mr.
Yeah.
Hyde. It's the dark stuff. It's the one
Uh,
who's scared, um,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
who's scared of change and just wants to stay comfortably in
Yeah.
his own place. And I tell him to fuck off every
Yeah.
day.
Good.
Whenever he rises his little head. That's what therapy has taught me, which I'm very happy for.
Good. I'm really pleased.
I'm interested in the methodology that you've created that
Mhm.
helps leaders become better leaders, or people become the leaders that they're meant to be. How did you develop this methodology over your life?
So I was a leadership coach for about 9 years. And one of the things I realized as a leadership coach is that I could work with the leaders and, they get them to a really great place, get them functioning really well on all cylinders, but the rest of the business would be a bit of a mess. So I then set out to learn some management consulting skills. And what I did was combine the consulting and coaching. So I see a business as like a human entity, it's its own little person with needs, wants, and desires, the same as the leaders and the people who are engaged with that business. And so I now coach and consult the business and the leaders within the business. And the heart of that is culture. Because in the same way that the best leaders lead with heart and soul, the best businesses have really clear, identifiable heart and soul. And I help businesses identify their heart and soul, their purpose, vision, and values, embed them, and I take the leaders with me on that journey along with the business, because what I saw just as a coach was that the business often is going backwards and the leaders are going forwards, or vice versa. You got to work with both for it to work. And that's the methodology I created. And I focus on, as I say, building the great culture, the kick-ass culture, and then putting that into the strategy, the people, and the revenue systems. So you get a really great sustainable business, but which, by the way, is worth up to 7 times more than the average in whatever sector it's in. So it pays off.
Ooh, I like hearing those numbers. Those are some good
Yeah.
numbers. 7
They
times.
are. Yeah, they are. They're really good, and it's true. I've seen it so many times. The value builds, the capability and the capacity of the business builds, and it builds on strong foundations. Yeah, it's good.
Great. When you're going into a business to help them change their culture, you're obviously helping the leaders become better leaders and get
Mhm.
the culture into this kick-ass culture. Where do you start first? Like, what is the first thing you like doing when you're walking into it with a new client or a new business?
The very first thing I do is I have a conversation with the person sitting at reception. That's the very first thing I do, because they will tell you everything you need to know. Um, and then I speak to the boss, whoever's in charge, owner, founder, CEO, managing director, managing partner, whatever label you want to give them, the person who is at the top of that organization. And I find out what they want. And I not only find out what they want for the business, but also for themselves. And then I'll go and speak to the board, whoever they are, founders, owners, partners, doesn't matter what structure it is. And then I make sure they all want the same kind of thing and they're all heading in roughly the same direction. And once we've got agreement on that, then we can start doing the work.
I like that. That's great advice.
Mm.
Who would you say has been a mentor for you in
Mm.
your journey? Because I know as an entrepreneur, we need our mentors, we need our coaches.
Yeah.
Because if we can't be coached, we can't coach others.
Yeah.
Who in your life has been a monumental mentor, someone that has shifted your view on business and on working?
Yeah. So I've been really lucky. I've had a few. When I worked for the big recruiter, my first boss there, Muriel, was outstanding. She was superb. She showed me how to be a great leader. Sadly, she's no longer with us. She died way too early. She was amazing. And then Bandler and his team, John Laval and the team that I've done all my NLP training with, superb, absolutely outstanding, real mentors there. And I'm really lucky enough to have a non-executive chair, a guy called Donald. In fact, I met him for a coffee today. He's a wise person, a very wise person. I've known him for a long time. Way back, I used to recruit accountants for him. And then I was a client of his because he was accountant to my business. So we've known each other a long time. He's somebody that I absolutely trust, and I will run things past him and share problems and things with him. So those are my key mentors, definitely. There are probably a few others. I've got a good friend, Tanya, who really helped me get started into coaching. She was really helpful in that, taught me how to share what I had with the world, because she shared very generously with me. Yeah, so I've been really lucky. I've had quite a few along the way, Phil.
I love that. And when you go into meeting these leaders, do you suggest that if they don't have mentors or coaches, that they start doing that investment into mentors for them to be a better version of themselves? Or do you like that's something they have to learn on their own?
I'm a great fan of when the pupil is ready, the master will appear. And there's no point in forcing coaching on anybody. People kind of know when they need when there's something missing, or they're a bit stuck, or they know they could be doing more than they are, or they're frustrated. They know they need something, and sometimes that is in the form of a coach or a mentor, and often the right person will appear at the right time. That's certainly been my experience over the years. You can offer, but they'll come to you when they're good and ready.
I like that. I would love to get maybe a practical piece of advice for the audience who are listening, because obviously some may not be able to afford your amazing services, but are looking for that next step to become the leader that they've always inspired. They were always inspired to be. What is something that they can do today that can help them put them a bit further on that path to being the leader that they always dreamed of?
So there's a couple of things. First of all, listen and seek to understand. The answers that you need are absolutely within your team, within your business. They're usually right under your nose. You've just got to listen out for them. So open your eyes, your ears, and your heart to what's around you, and listen with humility. And for goodness sake, leave your ego at the door. There are so many business issues that could be solved instantly if people just let go of their egos and went, "Oh, that didn't work. We need to try something else." People get wedded to ideas or projects because their ego is wrapped up in it. Let that stuff go. Be open, listen, admit when you're wrong, have humility, and you will be a brilliant leader.
I love that. And that's true. The ego is outside, because that's pretty much where most people have the biggest issues, is letting that ego go.
Yeah.
For someone who has no ego, it was very easy to let go of my ego. My only ego is making sure my podcast is great. That's the only thing I have, but I'm always open to improving the podcast, because it's always, life is nothing but learning. And becoming a better version of themselves. I'm curious, what do you do to invest in yourself? What do you do to make sure that you're standing, or at least preaching walking the walk and talking the talk?
Yeah. So I keep my NLP skills up to date, and the last course I was on was 2022. So yeah, I go every probably 3 years to keep those up to date. I read so much. I listen to so many podcasts, but I listen to stuff that is completely different to my day job, completely different, because I actually think you learn more from listening to other people's experiences in completely different realms than you do necessarily in your own. I do yoga, which I find re-energizes me. It's literally like the reset button at the end of the week. I swim, which clears my mind. I meditate, and I walk my dogs, Phil. I walk my dogs twice a day. I live in Edinburgh. It's very hilly. Up the hill, and it's just so I look after myself. I eat well. I sleep well. I read well. It sounds very boring, I know, but it keeps me sane, because this entrepreneurship stuff is not easy.
No,
Is it? No, and
it's
there are
the farthest
days.
thing from easy.
Yeah, there are days you just want to hide under the duvet and never ever come out. And what I've learned over the years is take regular breaks. Plan your holidays a year in advance so you absolutely have time when you're away, because I've burnt out. I've seen people burn out. I've tried to do it all. I've raised 3 kids, and I've learned through bitter experience, you have to take time out for yourself, little bits throughout the week, throughout the day, throughout the year, and that's how you keep your energy levels going. There are some people go, oh, I survive on 4 hours sleep a night. Right, well, whatever.
Congratulations.
Yeah, well done you. Yeah, but us mere mortals need to look after ourselves in order to do this crazy entrepreneurial thing that we do.
I love how you keep it very simple. You just
Yeah.
keep it to very basic things, nothing too complex, nothing like the Alex Huberman 6 a.m. wake up, do this, do that. I don't understand that. I enjoy my bed very much. It's a
Yes.
very comfy bed. That's why I paid so much
Yes.
for it.
Yes.
Right? Spend
Yes.
a majority of your time there, so why not make sure it's the most comfiest? So I do enjoy the simple fact that you're like, just do simple things to recharge
Yeah,
the batteries.
totally.
Did your I don't want to say methodology, but your sequence, if we will, of keeping things basic and recharging your batteries, did that come over a lifetime that you figured out, oh, I should add this, or was it something that you were already doing and you just realigned it to be more incongruent with what you're doing?
No, I did. I learned through bitter experience. When I was in the big corporate recruiter, I worked like an absolute maniac. It was the 90s and noughties, where work-life balance was not a thing at all. And even after I had my first baby, I was considered part-time, working Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. So it was crazy. And I kept getting these mysterious viruses where I'd be in bed for a week. And looking back now, people go, well, you were burnt out, but that wasn't a thing then. We didn't talk about things like that then. And it was learning NLP. I told you it was life-changing, that made me step back and go, oh, hang on a minute. This is happening because I have not connected my mind and body. I've now connected my mind and body, and I've started listening to my body, and my body's going, you're tired, you need to rest. And it's just through bitter experience. You've got to, I know Alex Huberman's work, and it's really impressive. But it's not right for everybody. You have to find the way that suits you, and then work with that. So trial and error, Phil. There's no magic formula. I discovered yoga 12 years ago. Couldn't even touch my toe. It took me a year and a half to touch my toes.
I don't want to try and touch my toes. I'm just gonna believe that I can, and I'll be happy with that.
I know. And you just do what you can, but you schedule it in, and I think that's the key. If there's one major tip, my diary, which is on my phone, If it's in my diary, I do it. If it's not in my diary, I don't do it. Mainly because I forget, to be honest. But
It's fair. It's fine. We all do it. We all have so much. You're running a company. You're dealing with clients. Obviously, things will slip when it comes to the to life. That's why we live and die by the diary or
we do.
the calendar. For those who aren't in the UK. With everything you have going on, and you've been in this space for a relatively a while, you're an OG, if we will. We can call you an OG.
Yay!
Where do you see yourself in 10 years? We're looking forward. Your company's obviously booming, doing great. But what are you doing in 10 years from now?
Okay, well, first of all, Phil, it's not booming. I don't want anybody to think that I'm like a multimillionaire or anything like that. It's still hard work, everybody. Okay, it's getting there. We're making progress. But yeah, booming would be an exaggeration. I'd love to claim that, but I'm too honest. It's doing okay. In 10 years, honestly, where I really want to be is on a yacht in the Mediterranean with a Negroni in my hand and the chef preparing dinner for me and my husband. That's where I really want to be.
That's why the business is booming in 10 years. That's why. It may not be booming now. In 10 years, it will be.
Yes, there we go. That's, even if I only do it for a week as a special treat, that will be just, I love the Mediterranean. I love everything about it. I holiday there as often as I can. And I love being on the ocean. And, who doesn't love a luxury yacht?
Of course. We can rent them. We've all seen Below Deck. We can all have that fun stuff.
Did you want a serious answer? Because I don't have one.
That is as serious as I need.
Right.
I was asking, where do you see yourself in 10 years? And
That's
if in
it.
10 years you see yourself sunning on a deck of a yacht in the Mediterranean with a Nerogi and a private chef while your husband is diving off the yacht, why not? That's where you want to be in 10 years. You're going to be there in 10 years.
Perfect.
Who is someone that you would love to be able to work with?
Ooh. Oh, that's a really good question. There's a guy called Daniel Priestley. Have you come across him?
No, but I'm writing down his name.
Okay, he's good. I like what he says. He has a program called Key Person of Influence. My business partner Tammy's just going through that program. He's written a few books, but the reason I like him is that he understands, he's Australian, but he lives in the UK. He understands the economy. He understands governments. He understands where business and entrepreneurship is going. And he's not afraid to be controversial about that. He's definitely talked about the tax system in the UK is so high. It's just crazy. And I really admire him for putting his head above the parapet, because as you know, that is not an easy thing to do these days. And the quality of what he delivers, Tammy's been going through his program. I haven't been too busy. Plus, quite frankly, she's been sharing what he's telling her and I'm doing it anyway. So that's fine. Well, Daniel knows that, and he's mega. His business is booming, and he's mega rich. So I don't suppose he cares too much. So yeah, I would, if I had the opportunity, I'd love to work with him because he's smart.
I like that. As an avid reader, I love reading, and you mentioned yourself you like to read, and I can see a few books behind you. Underneath that Chewbacca for good. What is one book that you find that you keep going back to and that keeps teaching you something new every time you read it? And this is not me just looking for better books to read. I promise.
Okay. So I'm going to cheat.
It's fine.
And I'm going to say it's an author, and this is going to sound really, really poncy and up my own backside, okay? But I'm going to put it in context. I did an English literature degree. I love literature. And the person I go back to time and time again is Shakespeare. Shakespeare tells you everything you need to know about the human condition, human nature, business, politics, war, government, love, marriage, kids, everything you need to know. And I'll either watch something about Shakespeare or read about him or read an extract from one of his plays. And you go, yeah, he nailed human beings so well and so insightfully that, yeah, and it sounds really, really up my own backside. It's not. I genuinely love his writing. Yes.
It's a very interesting answer, because most people just think of Shakespeare writing these sonnets, these plays that
Mhm.
when you don't look deeper into it, it's just for entertainment. But now that I'm thinking about it, like The Merchant of Venice has so much in both business and politics
Yep.
that you don't realize it. So I'm going to have to start looking at Shakespeare a bit more to see what
Yep.
lessons I can learn from that. Thank
Oh.
you for that.
No, so many. And they, we think that we're in new territory with social media and canceling and racism and, anti-Semitism. We think this is all new. None of it's new. None of it's new. We've been here so many times before. When the printing press came out hundreds of years ago, the powers that be wanted to censor it. They wanted to shut it down. They wanted to close. They wanted to do everything that our governments want to do now with social media, because they don't want people to have access to information. We've been here so many times before, and it's all in Shakespeare.
Dear Lord, I'm going to have to start getting more Shakespeare. With everything you've done,
Mhm.
you've a very accomplished career as an entrepreneur, Rebecca. Is there something that you have a secret goal that you haven't shared with anybody, that you want to accomplish before you decide to hang up the boots?
Mm. There was one, but this year I'm gonna do it, so I'm gonna have to think of a new one. So one was to be a properly published author. So my book I published 2014 as self-published, but I actually have a publisher now,
Ooh.
and yeah, I know, that's quite exciting. So I guess on the back of that, I'd really like to become known for the work that I do in terms of sharing information about businesses, business coaching, culture, that kind of thing, through the written word and through speaking. So I guess my next goal is to be a public speaker and to be paid handsomely for the privilege. Thank you very much. Yeah. So yeah, I've not shared that with anybody, and that would be amazing.
Well, as soon as you start doing that, you're more than welcome to come back, because I want to hear about all your experiences
Thank you.
chatting on the stage in front of millions of people, and see what terror comes from that. Because public speaking, I'm not too worried about public speaking, but I know
Oh,
it's a big fear that some have.
not me. I love it.
You're on a podcast, so it's exactly
Yeah.
public speaking. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we're coming to the end, which I hate, because
Thanks.
Rebecca, we're having a great time
Mm.
chatting. However, I have a 10-year-old self right beside me. She's amazing. She has been
Okay.
staring daggers at me because I talk funny, apparently. I'm not sure
Oh,
why.
okay.
But I would love to know what kind of advice you would love to pass back to your younger self to help them out.
Probably probably really simple. It's o- it's okay to be you, and in fact, more important than that, it's really important to be you. I think as we grow up, we think, or some of us think, that we have to try and be like other people, or we have to behave in a way that we're told is proper for who we are or the stage we're at, or, you know, whatever. And you just be you. Just be you. People will either love you or hate you or be indifferent to you. It really is immaterial. The people who will like you are the ones that you're meant to be with and meant to work with. Everybody else can kind of bugger off.
It's great advice. It's great advice for a 10-year-old to a 50-year-old to a 100-year-old. But I think the 100-year-old kind of figured that out well before they reached the 100 years.
I would hope
so. Rebecca, I'm going to jump off stage here. I want you to let my audience know where they can connect with you, how they can start following you so that they can start on their journey to be a better leader and have a kick-ass culture. So the floor is yours.
All right. So if you visit our website, tricres.com, TRICRES, you can find our Kick-Ass Culture Coach and Consultant program there. There's a sign-up link to join our next event. You can find our Entrepreneurial Journey podcast on Spotify, and our latest podcast, the Nick and Becca Fireside Chats, that's also on all podcast platforms. You find everything on tricres.com, TRICRES. Look out for my book coming out in December, Building Businesses from the Inside Out. And connect with me on LinkedIn, Rebecca Bonnington. You'll find me. Very easy to find. Thanks very much, everybody.
Rebecca, thank you so much for being an amazing guest on the podcast and sharing so much with us. I'm looking forward to having you come back on once the book is published, and we can talk all about that fun stuff and the joys of going through a publisher versus self-publishing. So I'm extending that invitation back to you.
Okay, I'll let you know. Thank you, Phil, for asking me. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. To my audience, make sure you check out the show notes down below to connect with Rebecca and TriCres and listen to the podcast, because podcasts help you grow. They're a master class for free. So make sure you check out those. They're going to be in the show notes down below. I thank you very much for listening. Rebecca, again, thank you so much for being here. And as always, remember to invest in yourself.